If you're feeling tired and you're diabetic, I definitely go check it out because the risk of not treating it is honestly a huge risk. It has a lot of mortality issues, and also your energy will never get better unless you treat it. The reality is that how you sleep and fatigue are interconnected for diabetes. So sleep is crucial for overall health no matter who you are, but it's especially important for diabetics. When you do have insulin resistance and you have these high insulin levels, you can run the risk for hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. And we see this with pre-diabetics all the time. So if you're pre-diabetic and feeling, tired, hypoglycemia is one of the most common symptoms before you actually become diabetic. And that leads to you feeling exhausted. So if you've had borderline sugar and are wondering, do I need to do something about this? Yeah, you need to do something about it because it's only going to get worse. I notice with my clients with diabetes, and it's because it's more than just feeling tired. It's an overwhelming almost exhaustion that can make it difficult to do anything, even basic daily activities. And the reason this is so messed up is because if you're diabetic, odds are you went to your doctor's office and they told you, take medication, lose weight, exercise more. Well, if you don't have a lot of energy, exercising, good luck with that. In a healthy body, glucose from food is used by the cells to produce energy. And insulin helps transfer glucose into the cells for energy. But in diabetes, either the insulin isn't working properly, i.e. insulin resistance, or your body isn't producing enough insulin. Hello, beautiful friends. Dr. Yas here, triple board certified endocrinologist and obesity specialist. And today we're tackling a question I hear from many of my patients and clients. Why am I always tired and have no energy? Now, I wanted to do this topic because it's my number one complaint I get from my diabetic patients. The reality is diabetes in and of itself, right, which is a cellular disease, does lead to decreased energy, especially when not controlled. Now, the other issue is that a lot of diabetics also are undergoing things like weight loss, trying to control their diabetes. And this also leads to an energy deficit, right? Less calories in, calories out when people are losing weight generally, right? So if you're, for example, we think of calories as joules, okay? Joules, energy. So if you have less joules, less energy, you're going to be tired. So I did want to talk about that just to start it off, okay? So if you have diabetes, you may have asked yourself this very question. And in this episode, we'll dive into why fatigue is so common among diabetics and what could be causing it, and most importantly, how to fix it with evidence-based strategies that'll help you feel more energized and in control. So before we can dive into what you can do about this, I want you to understand why you're tired as diabetic. If you're always feeling drained, no matter how much sleep you get, it could be your blood sugar levels that are causing the fatigue. So let's take a deeper look at the science behind this. So fatigue is the most common symptom I notice with my clients with diabetes. And it's because it's more than just feeling tired. It's an overwhelming almost exhaustion that can make it difficult to do anything, even basic daily activities. And the reason this is so messed up is because if you're diabetic, odds are you went to your doctor's office and they told you, take medication, lose weight, exercise more. Well, if you don't have a lot of energy, exercising, good luck with that. And then if you're tired and not really having a lot of energy, good luck preparing the foods you need that give you clean, good energy, right? So it is an uphill battle, no doubt about it. But is it something you can tackle head on? Absolutely. So what's actually going on? Let's break it down. So glucose and energy production, right? In a healthy body, glucose from food is used by the cells to produce energy. And insulin helps transfer glucose into the cells for energy. But in diabetes, either the insulin isn't working properly, i.e. insulin resistance, or your body isn't producing enough insulin. That's for more type 1 diabetes, but in type 2, you have the insulin, it's just not working, right? It's not getting into the cell. We always talk about that key to open the door, right, is rusty. It's not opening the door. So anyways, the glucose, therefore, if the door can't open those cell doors to let the glucose in, the glucose is going to stay in the bloodstream rather than entering the cell. And this results in high sugar and your cells effectively being starved for energy. So despite high glucose in the body, your cells can't access it, which leads to fatigue. Now, on the other side of it, we have hypoglycemia, so low blood sugar and energy. See, if you take medications like insulin or other medications that lower your blood sugar too much, you could experience hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar. And this also leads to feeling fatigue because your body doesn't have enough glucose for energy. There's a nice study published in Diabetes Care that found fluctuations in blood sugar, particularly high and low blood sugar, were directly linked to fatigue in individuals with diabetes. So basically, the research is out there. There's a bunch of studies like it. The research confirms, right, that maintaining stable blood glucose levels helps reduce the incidence of fatigue in diabetic patients. So, now let's talk about the role of things like sleep and fatigue and diabetes. Did you know that poor sleep can make your blood sugar control worse? So the reality is that how you sleep and fatigue are interconnected for diabetes. So sleep is crucial for overall health no matter who you are, but it's especially important for diabetics. Sleep disturbances can include things like sleep apnea. That can increase insulin resistance and worsen your blood sugar control. And when the blood sugar is uncontrolled, that leads to more fatigue. There's also, an association with sleep apnea and diabetes. See, sleep apnea is common in people with diabetes, particularly in those who are suffering from obesity. And the reality is this condition causes breathing to stop and start throughout the night, leading to fragmented sleep and poor quality rest. And that poor sleep quality worsens insulin resistance, making blood sugar harder to control. The other thing that happens is there's a big association because of that with cortisol in sleep. See, lack of sleep also causes an increase in cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Cortisol can raise blood glucose levels, leading to higher blood sugar, even more fatigue. So it's a vicious cycle. Poor sleep, poor blood sugar control, worse sleep. Now, there's a lot of evidence on this. One study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that untreated sleep apnea significantly worsens blood sugar control in patients with type 2 diabetes. So basically, what I want you to take from that is if you've never been tested for sleep apnea, even if you're not suffering from obesity, if you're feeling tired and you're diabetic, I definitely go check it out because the risk of not treating it is honestly a huge risk. It has a lot of mortality issues, and also your energy will never get better unless you treat it. And the other main point to know is that it is shown when you treat sleep apnea, you improve glycemic control and reduce fatigue. So there's really no reason not to test for it. There's no shame in having sleep apnea, and there's no shame in treating these things. The next thing I want to discuss is inflammation that's associated with diabetes and its role in fatigue. So could inflammation be the cause of your tiredness? I want to look at how chronic inflammation in diabetes can leave you feeling absolutely drained. And if you're thinking that chronic low-grade inflammation is not related to diabetes, you're wrong. And if you're thinking that that inflammation doesn't directly cause fatigue, you're also wrong. See, inflammation interferes with how your body processes energy, contributing to fatigue. Inflammation increases insulin resistance, hands down, and we've talked about this in previous episodes. So if you haven't seen that episode, go check it out. But basically, it makes it harder for your body to use glucose. And when your glucose can't be absorbed properly by your cells, what did we say before? You feel fatigued. So certain cytokines are known to do this. Inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha, IL-6 are elevated in people with diabetes, and they directly contribute to feelings of fatigue. And these inflammatory molecules interfere with energy production at the cellular level. There's a nice research published in Nature Reviews in Endocrinology, and there's a few others like it. There's actually a bunch like this, okay? Most of the research I do cite is never just one article, because I'm always like, I want numbers, right? There's a bunch of research on this kind of stuff. You can definitely, if you Googled it, you would see it, okay? It's not like a hidden secret, but no one really talks about it, so it's why I bring it up. Elevated inflammatory markers like CRP, TNF-alpha are strongly associated with fatigue in those with diabetes. Now, I want to transition to medications and their effect on fatigue. See, could your actual medications, which are supposed to be treating or managing your diabetes, right? They're not actually fixing the diabetes, they're just, lowering the blood sugar. But do they contribute to your tiredness? I want to explore how certain medications affect energy levels. So, while medications are essential for managing diabetes, some can contribute to fatigue as a side effect. I want you to think of things like sulfonylureas, which are glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride, or Prandin, Amaryl, all those, repaglinide. These medications stimulate the pancreas to release more insulin, okay? But they cause low blood sugar often because, right, you secrete more insulin, it drops the blood sugar. And they cause the low blood sugar, which leads to more feelings of tiredness and weakness. I notice this time and time again when I get people off these medications, which I often do. If I can get them on a different medication or have them change their lifestyle to get off of it, I always do because I know their energy will go through the roof. Another medication that directly affects energy levels is metformin. So it's the most common drug prescribed for diabetes, and it causes GI issues. And in some cases, it leads to B12 deficiency. I noticed, around maybe the 5-year mark level, almost all my clients, when I took their B12, happens to be on the lower end after. And so vitamin B12 is definitely linked to fatigue and low energy levels, right? When it's low. So the other issue is when you do have insulin resistance and you have these high insulin levels, you can run the risk for hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. And we see this with pre-diabetics all the time. So if you're pre-diabetic and feeling, tired, hypoglycemia is one of the most common symptoms before you actually become diabetic. And that leads to you feeling exhausted. So if you've had borderline sugar and are wondering, do I need to do something about this? Yeah, you need to do something about it because it's only going to get worse. And there's a lot of evidence for this. The studies show that, sulfonylureas are associated with that increased risk of hypoglycemia, which directly contributes to fatigue. And a bunch of studies highlighting that metformin causes B12 deficiency, which is also linked to fatigue in those with type 2 diabetes. And the reason this is such an issue is because they tell you when you're diagnosed with diabetes to exercise, lose weight, and take your meds. And it's really hard to exercise and lose weight if you're feeling tired. So knowing these things about your medication can help you because say you have metformin, right? And you have B12 deficiency. If you checked for it and repleted that B12, you might feel a whole lot better. Or if you changed your lifestyle and didn't need the medication, you could feel a whole lot better. So there's so many ways you can tackle this head on. The next segment I want to discuss is some glucose control hacks that can help your blood sugar level stay steady or just level, right? Straight lines. And also boost your energy. I know when you hear, it's funny because there's this fitness instructor, Melissa Wood, she does this Melissa Wood Health, and she always talks about long, lean lines. And whenever she says that, the nerd in me is literally like straight level lines, thinking about blood glucose levels. I literally just imagine a CGM or a continuous glucose monitor with just a perfect straight line in my dreams. And that's exactly what I aim for with my clients and patients and what they know to aim for, because they know if they can get that straight line, right? Yes, there's natural, fluctuations of the sugar throughout the day, but generally a more straight line rather than these big peaks and valleys throughout the day, they feel so much better. So my first glucose hack for straight lines is vinegar before the meals. Studies show that consuming vinegar before meals helps lower post-meal blood sugar spikes. And this directly can reduce fatigue because there's not going to be as large of a blood sugar fluctuation. So vinegar has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, especially after meals, by slowing down the absorption of the carbohydrate. So imagine if while you're eating something that has carbs like rice, pasta, whatever, is getting slowly absorbed rather than quickly. Instead of going like this, it's going to go like this. And when we do that, we have more of a straight line. Another study found in The Lancet showed that consuming vinegar before meals reduced post-meal glucose levels and improves insulin sensitivity, potentially decreasing fatigue. And what I love about this, I used to think that you had to have like apple cider vinegar. I don't know. I think it's become such a, not fad, but such a big trend where people are using apple cider vinegar in everything. I mean, and there's a lot of health benefits to it, so I get why. But you can actually do this with plain old white vinegar or, other vinegars that you have in your house. So whatever you have that's, cheap enough, you can do right before, and this would work. The next glucose hack I have for you is nutrient sequencing. So nutrient sequencing involves eating vegetables and protein and healthy fats before carbs, which will slow down the absorption of sugar and prevent the spike of sugar. And remember, like we said, when your body, has carbs, right, it will spike the blood sugar. But if you sequence, you can have the sugar, instead of going like this, go like this. And again, straight line, my favorite thing to see. So basically, it's very simple. If you slow the absorption of glucose, you help get a straight line. And remember, it works double-fold. See, not only are we preventing the sugar from going like this, right? It's going to go like this. But when you have a lower sugar level, right, so it doesn't spike as high, your body secretes less insulin. If your body secretes less insulin, the drop afterward is also going to be less steep. So instead of like this, it's going to go like this. And that helps us get toward that straight line. And that is going to make your energy level. And that's what we like to see. And there's a ton of studies on this. And this is actually, even nutrient sequencing is seen to help even in type 1 diabetics, believe it or not. So this actually can go for type 2 and type 1. But anyways, research shown in diabetes care found that nutrient sequencing improved blood sugar control, stabilized energy levels throughout the day. The next thing I want to discuss as a solution or glucose hack is exercise. It is one of the best ways to increase your insulin sensitivity, and it allows your body to use glucose more effectively for energy. So how it helps? Even light physical activity like walking can improve blood sugar control and boost energy by increasing the oxygen delivery to your muscles. And there's just so much evidence for this. I don't have to go on about this. It's known. Exercise helps insulin sensitivity. I love when my clients will do this after dinner. It really helps with that postprandial sugar spike that can sometimes happen after a bigger meal. So I know I gave you a lot of information, and I hope you understand after watching this episode. So today we discussed why fatigue is so common among patients with diabetes, how you can address it, and by understanding fatigue, you can really cure it. So remember, fatigue and diabetes is often caused by blood sugar mismanagement, okay? Both high and low blood sugar levels. It's also caused by poor sleep and chronic inflammation, which hence is why I wrote a book with my husband on sleep management for proper sleep hygiene. And in addition, wrote an anti-inflammatory diet book because we know this contributes to fatigue. And that is the biggest complaint I get from my patients with diabetes. They may not notice the neuropathy yet. They may not have heart disease yet. They may not be in dialysis yet. They might not know any of these kind of complications and they think everything's fine because they feel fine. But even if a patient comes to me in the beginning, before they actually truly take care of their diabetes and says to me, I have no symptoms, I feel great. If I ask them if they're tired, they always say yes. And that's because they haven't dealt with their blood sugar control. So remember, dealing with poor sleep, chronic inflammation absolutely will help. The other thing is you may want to re-examine that medication you're on, okay? So talk to your doctor, ask them other options you have, ask them what lifestyle things you can do to be able to fix this because medications like insulin and the sulfonylurea class drop sugar quickly and cause fatigue. And then finally, remember, metformin causes B12 deficiency. So if you're on metformin, have that checked out and fix that because it's going to be very difficult for you to fix your insulin resistance, to exercise, lose weight, and do all these things they say to do if you're exhausted. The next thing is try to incorporate these simple strategies I told you, like vinegar before the meals, nutrient sequencing, the order in which you eat, and regular exercise. This will help you reduce fatigue and manage your blood sugar. And those things cost almost nothing to do. So anyways, if you watch this episode today, I want you to try those glucose hacks. Comment down below, subscribe, and let me know how those hacks worked for you. I guarantee you'll see better sugars within a week. Try it, I'm telling you. The vinegar, nutrient sequencing, and a walk after dinner, and you'd be surprised what happens. All right, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next.